So today we're going to go over the variables that we can declare for JavaScript and how you declare them, and many options that you have to declare variables. So JavaScript has this awesome function that you don't need to specify your variables, which in some programming languages you do. You need to specify if it's a integer, if it's a car or char, however you say it, variables, character label, or if it's a float point. Um, for JavaScript, you could just do var x, and that declares the variable. But if you try to use that variable, it'll give you a undefined error in your console, and that's because it's not assigned to anything. You need to assign it. If you want to assign it, you could do x equals 5 or 65. And now variable x is assigned to 65, and now variable is a integer variable. Now, you could also do assignment right when you declare the variable, and that will save some spots if you that would save some code lines if you know exactly what the variable is, and if you want to hardcore code it in there. Sometimes you don't want to hard code information in there, so what you would do is you'd say get x, you call the function getX, which would access the database, and it would bring back x for you, and you can use it on the web browser. Or if the person entered a value and you're calculating something, you could call a function with that value, and it will bring back x, which you could later use. Now, there's multiple ways you could declare variables. So you could just declare them just like this, and now you have variable x, y, z, and you could go one step further. Just by separating them with a comma, the code allows you to continue going with variable across the board. You could go one step further, and you could just assign them right as soon as you create them. Now we got all three variables assigned, all three variables defined, and this can be, you could do it with as many variables as you can. You can say car, and we will say BMW. BMW. It's a string. So a string, when you declare a character or a string, you can either do it with single quotes or double quotes. I recommend practicing with both. Just remember that you cannot do double quotes in a HTML function or HTML uh, variable. It will give you an error and it will not complete the code because you're not in the script tags, you're inside the HTML tag. Now, this is how you could assign multiple different variables. And the cool part about it is that you don't have to specify exactly what you need. If you don't know the variable for BMW, you could just leave it blank, and you could later declare it to whatever you want. Now, if I go back down here and if I reinitiate or redeclare variable x, it will automatically delete everything it had in x and redeclare it right there. A lot of the times in other coding languages, you will actually get an error. This is not legal. You're not allowed to do that. Or something like this is allowed as well in JavaScript is you could do concatenation, string concatenation. I cannot speak today, and math concatenation. So that is saying that assigning x to 2 plus 3. Um, this is legal. The variable itself will will be assigned to 2 plus 3, which is 5. Or what you could do is you can do a plus sign and you could say Jack Smith, and it would combine those two and put it in there. One thing you got to keep in mind is that you want to add a space to one side, or what you can do is just create a space slogan and just add another concatenation in there and have the space between the names. So that way, when you output them, you don't get just Jack Smith, you get Jack Smith. So big difference there. You got to keep in mind that JavaScript is not affected by white space. So even though these are two different names, JavaScript is not affected by it, and it will put them together if you don't do something like that. So another cool part about JavaScript is you can mix around variables, and it will convert them automatically within the code. So if we have, for example, variable y here, and variable y is 2, right? But now I want to assign variable y to y plus 5 plus, and then I want to assign it to, let's say, 6, and this is legal in JavaScript. JavaScript will let you do this because it's just awesome like that. But this also creates a lot of errors in your code, and this could be really hard for you to find out what your error is, because it will come back. If you're trying to triple check something, uh, triple evaluate something, which means having 3 equal sign, this will check uh, the value and value type. So if you're doing this, and let's say now that you have this as a string, now this would become a string in there. It would be a string type. It would not be an integer type. So that you got to keep in mind is that if you do this, it will change the type. You cannot use triple equals. You would only be able to use double equals to uh, compare the variable.